talk about the Huayan Mindfulness of the Buddha. This is a Shastra wrote by a Bodhisattva disciple named Pong Ji-Qing. He successfully combined the Huayan school of Buddhism based on Avantasaka Sutra and the Pure Land school of Buddhism based on the Amitabha Sutra. It talks about 5 kinds of mindfulness of the Buddha and 4 major principles of the Avantasaka Sutra. Let's first look at the 5 mindfulnesses or recitation of the Buddha. Number 1, mindfulness of the Buddha's Dharma body. This directly points to the inherent Buddha nature in all sentient beings. We all have the Buddha nature. First, we gotta be mindful of this true nature of ours. Dharma body is actually luminous and calm, prevails everywhere without any obstruction. That's inherent in all of us. All we have to do is to understand our own mind. Then in every moment, we will always find Buddhahood. When we are mindful of Buddha's Dharma body, we will realize that we all have this inherent nature that is perfect and bright, just like the sun that is always shining, but our delusions and attachments, they're like clouds that's covering up the sun. All we have to do is remove the clouds and the sun will shine brightly. There was a lion cub that grew up with sheep. Because he sees sheep every day, he behaves like a sheep and he thinks of himself as a sheep. One day an adult lion came and saw him in this crowd of sheep. He was laughing at him. How come you are living with a group of sheep? The lion cub saw the lion, was so afraid and intimidated. He ran away and tried to hide. The adult lion grabbed him, took him to the pool of water, and let him see himself in the water. You see, you are the same as me. You are not a sheep. You are a lion, the king of the forest. Now the little cub knows who he is. He's actually a lion, not a sheep. So we have to recognize our true nature. That is the same as all Buddhas. Number 2, mindfulness of the Buddha's virtues. This gives rise to the Buddha's teaching and their transformation influence. Buddha has 3 bodies. 1 is the Dharma body, 2 is the reward body, 3 is the transformation body. By being mindful of Buddha's virtues, we are bringing out Buddha's reward body and transformation body. Reward body is Buddha's wisdom that he cultivates through insight and tranquility meditation. So bring out the non-conceptual knowledge, the noble wisdom, that is the reward body. Then he has great compassion, that is the transformation body. So by being mindful of Buddha's virtue, we bring out our own reward body and our transformation body. In everyday action, we have to realize our mind is the Buddha. So we bring out our inherent great compassion, unconditional love when we treat everybody in our lives. It can be our family, our friends, our co-workers, or just strangers. That is the inherent virtue and quality in all of us. And when we have the wisdom of emptiness, we are not attached to anyone or anything, but we have this great compassion for all sentient beings because we know all sentient beings are created by our own mind. So be mindful of Buddha's limitless virtues. Number 3, mindfulness of the Buddha's name. This serves as the most supreme expedient method of practice. It's actually hard for us to recognize our Dharma body or Buddha's virtues because we think that is so far away. We think that's separate from us. What brings it into reality It's when we chant Buddha's name, the recitation comes out of our heart, through our mouth, and we hear it back into our ears. This is a very realistic practice that helps us be mindful of Buddha's Dharma body and Buddha's virtue. So it's all through the mindfulness of the Buddha or recitation of the Buddha's name. The name itself has inconceivable power. When you hold the Buddha's name, you simultaneously have Buddha's essence and all his qualities. The same qualities are actually innate in you originally. The name prevails everywhere. Your thought, your mind is the Buddha, and the whole Dharma realm, it becomes the Buddha's Dharma realm. So that's the inconceivable power of the Buddha's name. By just chanting one Buddha, you are actually aligning yourself with all Buddha's power and virtues. When we chant the name Amitabha throughout the day, first you might want to do it in solitude, but soon you realize you can chant Amitabha everywhere you go. When you're sitting, when you're eating, when you're talking, you always have the Buddha's name in your mind, like the background music that's in our ears, instead of the chattering of your mind. That's why this practice is the most supreme and expedient method. Nothing is more powerful than the chanting of the Buddha's name. Number 4, mindfulness of Vairocana Buddha. This leads directly into the Dharmatatu, the realm of the ultimate reality. Vairocana Buddha is Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha is the Buddha of our world. His Pure Land is the Huayan world. When you're mindful of Shakyamuni Buddha, you'll be led directly into the Dharmatatu, the realm of ultimate reality. This realm of ultimate reality is basically the utopia, the perfect world, where everybody is together as one and everybody is in harmony. Everybody is living in their Buddha mind. Being mindful of our original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, we are mindful of his spirit. He says, there is not a piece of land that I didn't sacrifice for all sentient beings. Every inch of ground is a place where I sacrifice myself for all sentient beings. Understand how selfless Shakyamuni Buddha has been in his eons of practice. It will bring out our Bodhi resolve to be just like him. He can sacrifice his life for sentient beings, sacrifice his life for the Dharma, for spiritual enlightenment. That's the kind of Bodhi resolve that we should learn from our teacher. Lastly, mindfulness of Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha creates the land of ultimate bliss because he wants us to become Buddhas. He knows it's very hard for us to cultivate in this corrupted world, so he creates the perfect environment. When we chant his name at our moment of death, he will come personally to take us with our lotus flower to his Pure Land. By taking rebirth in the Pure Land, we are guaranteed to attain Buddhahood once and for all. We can leave samsara forever. We will never have to reincarnate in the 6 rounds of reincarnation anymore. So be mindful of this all the time in your daily action. You will not be caught up with the minute worldly events of your life. By being mindful of Amitabha Buddha, we fulfill the great vows of Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. Samantabhadra is the role model of all Bodhisattvas. He has 10 great vows: respecting all Buddhas, praising the Buddha, have boundless offering to Buddha, confessing our sins, rejoicing other people's merits, requesting the Buddha to turn the Dharma wheel, requesting the Buddha to remain in the world, always follow the teaching of Buddha, always being in harmony with all sentient beings, and dedicating all our merits to all sentient beings. He has the most compassion, everyday thought, succeeding thoughts without interruption in bodily, vocal, and mental deeds without weariness. 24 hours a day, he is having the bodhi resolve to reach Buddhahood and save all sentient beings. So by being mindful of Amitabha's Buddha, we are mindful of our Bodhisattva practice. Our goal is to be just like Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. So these 5 mindfulnesses are very, very powerful. Now let's talk about the 4 principles that's endowed in these 5 mindfulnesses. These principles are vividly described in the Avantasagga Sutra. Number 1, intermingling of the one and the many. In the perfect world of Buddha, the mind of the reality, one can be contained in many, many is contained in one. Just like one drop of water is the entire ocean. The entire ocean consists in one drop of water. That's the world of our pure mind. When you are dwelling in your pure consciousness, chanting one Buddha's name, you are chanting all Buddhas. Recognize this truth with every one of your recitation. Number 2, unity of the main and the companions. Every world, there's only one Buddha. That's the main Buddha, and he has companion bodhisattvas. Shakyamuni Buddha is the Buddha of this world. His 2 major companions are Bodhisattva Samantabhadra and Bodhisattva Manjushri. The main Buddha and the Bodhisattva, they are united as one. We all have the same Buddha nature. So it doesn't matter who is the main or who is secondary. Just like a company, there's a president, there is a janitor. But they are one of the kind because everybody do their part, they cooperate, but in their true essence, they are all mind of the Buddha. So we are all interconnected as one. See the oneness in all sentient beings, then you have unconditional love and compassion. You'll no longer be mad at anybody because that means you're mad at your own self. That's foolish. Understand the oneness of everybody. It's really an illusion. We think our body, our mind is separate from others. There's actually no separation. Number 3, the interconnectedness of self and others. Self is talking about us, the mundane, and others, all the Buddhas. Buddhas and mundane. We are all the same because our mind is the original enlightenment. So there's no difference between myself or others. That's the vastness of our mind. Recognize you are the lion. You are not the sheep. Dwell in your new enlightened self. Number 4, both specific and general. When you chant one specific Buddha, it's like you chant all Buddha of the universe with one recitation of Amitabha. This name actually goes everywhere. The Buddha's name has no boundary of time or space. That's how powerful it is. Realizing these 4 inconceivable natures of our mind, we are able to create greatness. Nothing is out of reach. We just have to get rid of our delusion, which is our doubt about who we really are. Self-doubt and self-limitation is our own delusion. There's actually no limitation in our mind. That is the realm of the ultimate reality. Lastly, the Shastra says 5 mindfulnesses is actually in one thought. And one thought is actually no thought. When you can quiet your mind, chanting or no chanting, it's actually only here and now, being mindful of the present thought, where there is no thought. That is the ultimate prajna, the reality of all things. Hopefully, this gives you a glimpse of the wisdom of Buddha, and it's actually not far from you, not separate from your mind, right here and right now. So chant Amitabha with this new awareness. Your every recitation will be the Buddha. Thank you so much for listening. Amitabha.